What's your view like on it, Luke? You know, we kind of just touched on it last week, but I think it's an even bigger talking point now after the Japan game. Like, you know, there's a guy say like Alex Codling who's working at Munster, who's meant to be a defensive or a line-out guru. Like he came in with the Ireland women's team initially, and then went in with Munster because and it kind of has now been co-opted by Munster. He's meant to be a line-out guru. Like, do Ireland need another line-out expert in there? If Paul O'Connell's been there for 5 years and the line-out is at this point is still patchy, like, do Ireland need like another person in there who has line-out expertise as well? You wouldn't think that was necessary because of Paul O'Connell's acumen, but there's something not adding up in what's being delivered on the pitch.
Yeah, well, the one thing I would say about that is, right, so I think we've become used to, say, an Ireland line-out that is, impeccable, we would probably consider it, would you say top three in the world? Maybe is that fair enough to say over like a 15-year period? What I would say about that period is that you had Paul O'Connell kind of presiding over that on pitch for a huge amount of that, right? And then you had, Devin Toner after Paul O'Connell for maybe 4 or 5 years, kind of presiding over that as well. Now, both very kind of high IQ guys. Obviously, Devin obviously has that freakish kind of size as well to him, which always helps. But two guys who are kind of, I think, thought of. Obviously, Paul probably had a more rounded, obviously he's a superstar. He's one of Ireland's best ever players, whatever. But, Dev was, both of them, renowned as like pure line out operators. You know what I mean? Like who's going to be calling your line out? Well, is Paul O'Connell on the pitch? It's going to be Paul. Is Dev Toner on the pitch? Well, that's why Dev's getting picked, because he's just, that's what he does. And he guarantees you a ball out of the line out and you can work from that. And it's obviously the key set piece in the game for most teams, right? I do wonder about, when you look at the Ireland team the last, 3-4 years, do you see that guy, Will? Do you see a guy going, well, he's a pure, like, even so when Paul O'Connell wasn't around, Alan Quinlan was kind of renowned as a pure, like a line out guy, like a real top of the range, really kind of intricate, really good feel for it on the pitch in terms of the calling, etc. And I do wonder then about this kind of current crop, James Ryan, obviously brilliant around the pitch, but, is he renowned as a line-out caller, or has he always kind of been, he does it here, he does it there? Ty Byrne is obviously growing into that role, but, is he renowned as that? No, he's renowned as a guy who's brilliant around the pitch. He's on the pitch for for other stuff, not just pure line-out. So there's a bit of that as well. I do have to, part of me thinks there's a bit of that going on as well, Will, because there's obviously, look, there's the technical side of it, and we're always going to wonder, with Paulie, like, is it going to be, will someone be able to execute what Paul has in his mind on the pitch? We know Dev could do that, but do we know about the other guys? Are they capable of doing that? Have they got the intricacies to do that? But there's also the art part about on the pitch. You go, do you know what? These guys are set up really nicely for this call. I think they've read our formation. What's the checkout? And there's a little bit of that going on as well, in my opinion, Will. It's not just that. And then you obviously have, are the guys around them well equipped for it as well? Because it looks like there's a few missed lifts, a bit of missed timing in the jumps. There's all that kind of stuff as well. So this is not an easy fix, I don't think, straight away. And I do wonder about, are we right to lay all the blame at the foot of the coach, or is there something else going on there on the pitch where we don't have a pure kind of line out caller there on the pitch? So I wonder, it's just something that I've kind of been thinking about, because they need to fix this problem. There's no doubt about that. And I do wonder, sorry, just to finish off the point, Will, like, is Paul maybe expecting what's on the pitch to be, is he expecting a pure kind of line out caller on the pitch to be able to deliver what he has in his mind about how the line out's going to function on the weekend? Are those people capable of doing that? So ultimately it'll rest on him. So does he need to then say, well, maybe I don't have that on the pitch, so what do we do? Do we go to shortened lineouts? Do we, have they come up with a solution to simplify things? Are they going to just be a guaranteed, we go to 2 all day, or whatever it is, to get to guarantee possession? Or are we going to keep risk taking, and I'm just going to work with this group for another year or two, and there's going to be a bit of a pain here for the next kind of 6 months where I'm still working with the guy and it looks a bit ugly on the pitch, but in the longer term, working towards, say, a World Cup or whatever, I'm working with a young line out caller, say a Baird or something like that, who's going to be in your setup for the next while. So there's a few things here, Will. I don't think it's as easy an answer as this is all Paul O'Connell's fault. I think there's probably something in the middle there where it's probably more, what's actually happening.
Yeah, I take the point. Like being a line-out caller is a technical discipline. Like I remember we had Devin Toner on the show. I think it was during COVID, and we asked him about it, and he was just kind of giving an insight into the mental, not the mental stress, but kind of the balls you're juggling when that is part of your game. Like you're, as you say, like some of the Ireland second rows, they're really good in different areas, but at the same time, they've had a lot of time to develop a caller to get someone up to speed as
Yeah.
that technical guru. Like, Devin Toner hasn't played for Ireland since 2020, I don't think. So, like, the World Cup was 2 years ago. Like, so that's kind of what more I'm saying. I don't disagree to the fact that do Ireland not have a quote unquote like natural, pure technical
Like a
line? Yeah,
Matfield or
maybe
a
maybe
Borthwick
not,
or
but
a
they've had
O'Connell.
time to develop it, and that's what I'm saying. Like, this isn't a new problem. Like we've been talking about it for years, so that's kind of where my frustration and I said somewhat bafflement about how Saturday unfolded. And as I said, 17 different forwards have played across the 2 weeks, so there's been different combinations of people in the lineout, and it hasn't really been that smooth, other than maybe the second half against Japan when Japan. Yep.
Can I also add just another wrinkle to that, Will, to the conversation? Because I think this would be interesting to get both your sorry to interrupt
Yeah, yeah.
yourself and Jonathan's opinion on this. But remember as well, a lot of where you might call a line out doesn't like the first call that comes in for a line out is coming from 10. So the 10 is going to call a phase of play that they think is going to work against the team that you're playing against. All right. The line out call and where you're going to try and take the ball is going to be dictated by what the 10 wants to play off the phase play, right? And if you think about who Ireland have in those positions, yes, I think Jack Crowley is obviously more, settled in that position. But remember, he's had an unsettled last little 18 months in the Irish jersey. They've obviously had Prendergast in there as well, kind of calling plays, and he's obviously a young guy as well. So you'd often wonder, like, do those guys have a feel for how that's going, or if there's a struggle happening at the line and go, okay, lads, do you know what? We're not going to play a phase play here, or we're going to play a phase play. We're going to play something a bit more conservative, or we're going to kick this next one. Do you know what I'm saying? So this is actually quite a tricky little problem, and I don't think it's a team. It's not just a line out thing. It's kind of a team thing as well. So do you have to maybe readjust some of your game plan to say, okay, well, look, to start the game, particularly when we look at the Japan game, right? So to start the game, let's simplify things a little bit. We're not going to get into our phase play as we're not going to be as expansive as we like. Let's give our hooker and our line out guys just a little bit more confidence. Let's start with a bit more of a conservative approach. Let's shorten the line out.
Well, it shouldn't be. It shouldn't be. That shouldn't be what Ireland have to do, though. Like, I take your point.
Well, like where
that,
we are,
that would be a way of building the confidence in the lineup. But like, God, if we're gotten to like, oh, we just have to go to two, like for the first 20 minutes.
For the first couple.
Yeah,
I'm just saying for the first couple. I'm just saying build your way into a game. Like, there's a confidence element to this. There's a timing element. There's all these kind of things that you go, okay, well, do we know? Is there a couple of plays where we pretty much know we're going to get the ball, unless it's like a crooked throw or something, unless there's something that you can't really account for. Let's get the guys, or do we know there's a high probability throw for the hooker? Is there something that we know the guys, we've drilled this like all week? And I know they're drilling everything all week, but we've drilled this all week. This is something we've looked at their line out. This is something that we know we're going to get the ball off. And let's give the guys a little bit of confidence to start the game. And then maybe let's throw in one over the top, or let's throw in a throw to the back of the lineup that's kind of a little bit more intricate, requires a bit more timing. So a bit of that going on as well. But I just thought I'd add that to the frame.
No, that's fair.
They're going to get a lot of stick for this. And we expect the highest standards from the Irish team, as they'll expect from themselves. But we need to have a full conversation about it and include all the aspects that impact this,
Yeah, it's just obviously as the person presiding over it, like Paul O'Connell's naturally going to get some scrutiny, and rightly so. Like, and I'm like, as I said, every Irish lineup now is like appointment viewing. Like you're seeing, you're like kind of it's a game within a game in Australia now, and then obviously South Africa. Remember the World Cup in 2023? South Africa really put the squeeze on Ireland's lineout that day, in particular. So that'll be two battles over the next 2 weeks.